Do you have enough light in your life? Are you soaring in the joy around you? Are you stuck and unable to make life happen? Stay tuned for the Rabbi Jenny Show, where you will learn how to bask in the light and find more joy and meaning in life. Call to talk to Rabbi Jenny at 888-565-1470 and email questions and comments at rabbijenny.com. And now, if you're ready, stay tuned for the Rabbi who will light your world on fire, Rabbi Jenny.
Hey, happy Wednesday. It's Rabbi Jenny. I'm so glad that you're here. I have to confess, this is I'm in like a strange place, listeners. I wait all week to speak to you, and this topic today has got me in this really emotional place, because the topic was inspired by two things. It was the topic is to cultivate inner peace, and it was inspired by, of course, the Torah portion this week, and it was also inspired by my teacher, Rabbi Joseph Gelberman, and a reading in one of the books I read. I read a monthly reader that he wrote. He is no longer with us, but it's about cultivating inner peace. And so often we think in our lives that peace is something that just will be, like we just have to do something and be and peace. It's like it's almost like a concept that's out there, and basically it's about cultivating that inner peace. It's about working on it and building it. And so before we begin, we always start the Rabbi Jenny Show with the two main ideas, and they always feed the teaching. And the first main idea is that the world is happening for you and not to you. And if we talk about cultivating inner peace, like cultivating a garden or a piece of land, that means that everything that is coming into your life is coming into your life to bring light or water to the garden inside your heart. And also your divine love, light, energy. You are divine. I am that I am. You are a piece of God's energy, and you are a piece of that. And so your whole purpose is to grow and expand your love center and build more peace in your life. And I have a couple of things to bring to you, but first let me tell you why we're cultivating inner peace. And we're cultivating inner peace this week because the portion in the Torah is Naso. It's the second portion in Numbers, and it's actually when God gives Moses the priestly blessing for Aaron. And we've all heard this blessing. At whatever church in the Judeo-Christian tradition that you've been to, you've heard the priestly blessing. And it's Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Lord bless you and guard you or keep you, depending on who says this to you. Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May the Lord shine his face upon you and shed light upon you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord lift up his face unto you and give you peace. And I thought to myself, of course, the last word is peace. But there's all this talk about shining his face upon you and shining his light upon you. And it made me think way back when, in the scripture, when Moses actually meets the light in the burning bush and actually is able to see the I am that I am. And he recognizes, like I say to you every week, that he is divine. That in order to cultivate and become the man he wants to be and do all the things that he wants to be, he must recognize that. And in recognizing that light and love inside of him, he can find peace. And we're talking about peace, and I always like to teach you about how amazing the Hebrew code is. And I'm really, I don't know what this space is, listeners, but, I feel like I know you. I don't know. I feel like I know you, and I want to talk to you. And I want to talk to you about how for many, many years I used to stare at certain scripture and stare at the Hebrew letters and stare at certain sacred symbols and almost in a mission to understand them. And today it just leaps off the page at me to bring to you, and I believe that's because of you. So thank you for that. So we're going to look at the word for peace. And the word for peace in Hebrew, we've many of us have heard. It's called shalom. And there's no coincidence, remember, because this is a sacred code. And shalom is made up of 3 letters and 1 vowel letter. And the first letter is a shin, and it is actually the first letter in the word for sun. It is shemesh, and it's also the first letter in the word for Shekhinah, or the fire of God. And shemesh being sun is fire. And it actually, I have a picture, so if you watch the video at home or on rabbijenny.tv, you can see. But the shin is 3 flames, and it definitely represents light. And so the beginning of the word begins with light. So peace begins with light. And at the end of the word is a mem. And mem is the word for mayim, or water, or flow. And I just thought that was so interesting, because in the middle of the word is the letter lamed, which grows up right out of the middle of the word like a flower. And it's the first word in learning, and it's also the first word in lave, or heart. And so in order to cultivate our heart, or our inner garden, and build more shalom, or peace, we must give it the perfect balance of light and water. You know, I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's ridiculous how it all falls together like that we really need to look at what are we doing to cultivate inner peace? And why do we think cultivating inner peace means staying out of life? If you avoid life to find peace, you're not finding peace, you're finding isolation. That's not peace. That's actually you're probably in less peace than most of the rest of the world, because you're not building things like community and harmony. You're not building things like love and joy. You're just avoiding. You know, you're waiting in the trenches for the next battle. And that's not peace. Martin Luther King Jr. said that peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at the goal. And my teacher, Rabbi Gelberman, said that we must cultivate inner peace. Peace is possible in the arena, not on the sidelines, because we have a spiritual ally always at our side. When we open ourselves up to its power and we courageously face our own behaviors and our own inconsistencies, in my theories, inner peace is possible. So what is peace? Peace is a sense of congruency, a lack of conflict. According to the dictionary, it's actually harmony or balance. And war is actually being in conflict. So I thought, in what ways are we not at peace? And how do we figure that out before we start to cultivate it? Because the truth is that before you water and care for your garden, you got to know what's in there, and what you want to plant in there. So where in your life are you in conflict? Where in your life are you not producing what you want to produce? And I looked at a list from my own, journey, or what I notice in people and what I notice in myself is that I may have certain inner beliefs inside of my heart, but I'm not producing them in my life. I'm actually creating sometimes the opposite. And the idea is not to fight that existence, but to actually cultivate or water and give light to the things that I want in my life. And I wanted to pass these off to you, the listener, because I feel like somebody out there might be at conflict or at war inside in this way, and you can't really figure out how to get where you want to go. And maybe it's as simple as admitting that you really want to go there and you're not able to do it. Because sometimes we're at conflict because of ideas and beliefs from our family, from our history, from our lineage, from our tribe, that are keeping us locked. And so we need to cultivate new ideas, new beliefs, new hopes. And that is what I wish for you. The first thing is you might believe in freedom. You might be one of those people that watches TV and you really believe in it for other people, but in your own life, you've created prisons. You've created debt. You've created chains in your own life, in your relationships, and in the way you express yourself. And that's a war. That's an inner conflict that many people have. So how do we resolve that? How do we cultivate peace? Well, we would try to create and cultivate freedom, or plant, I don't want to be corny about it, but me, I can be a little corny. I want to plant a freedom flower or a freedom seed in the garden and start to do certain things, which I found a whole bunch of lists of things to cultivate and build these seeds of freedom. If freedom is something that you really believe in for others, but you secretly avoid it for yourself, that is an inner conflict. And what you're doing as divine love light energy is you're not expanding the way that you're capable of. You may believe in love. You may expound on it. You may celebrate it. You may ache for it. But in your life, you create hate. You create conflict. You create isolation. And how do you do it. You don't yell at yourself for creating hate. You don't beat yourself up. That's not cultivating. That's like stomping on flowers, inside your garden. Hey, you did that. Let's just stomp right on it. What you're going to do is you're going to plant a love flower in your life. You may start loving yourself or loving others through certain actions that we'll talk about. Another thing is you may believe in joy. Do you believe in joy? Do you believe in happiness? Do you believe in laughter? And all you see in your life is sadness. All that is around you is sadness. You're not going to beat yourself up about feeling sadness, but you have to cultivate joy. It is not a stagnant thing. Life is in motion, and we must learn to cultivate. We must learn to actively start to grow these things. How do we do that? So if we go about believing in freedom, how do we do that if we're not really free? How do we create a free state of mind? One of the suggestions I always give on this show is a journal. If you want to find out your own inconsistencies in the own areas of your life where your beliefs don't match what's being created, start journaling. Start giving yourself the freedom of expression. If you're not free in your ability to be around people, or you're not free when it comes to movement, give yourself a freedom of expression, a freedom of choice, who you talk to. Don't pick up the phone if you don't want to talk to somebody. Give yourself a little taste of freedom. If you believe in love and you want to cultivate love, acts of service are a wonderful way to cultivate love. Go to a neonatal unit and volunteer to rock some babies, and give them some love. Cultivating love doesn't even have to be that complicated. Turn on a love station on the radio, listen to some soul music and get yourself going. But you have to cultivate it. You are the tender of your garden. You are the tender of your heart. That is what you're in charge of. I say this all the time, that you're the only person you're with your whole life. You really should start enjoying your own company. You really, you're in charge. You're the little piece of that divine love light that you're in charge of, and it's time. So do you believe in abundance? In America, we say we believe in abundance, but so many people actually create lack. Lack, and I'm not talking just lack in things. Lack can be a lack of expression. Lack can be a lack of, air, a lack of, there's so many things that we lack in our life, but you may believe in abundance, and your conflict comes because your head and your heart aren't agreeing. And why do our head and our heart not, and how, what would be I got to talk to my guest when he comes on next segment, but there are ways that we can cultivate these things, like cultivate abundance. Buy some flowers. Go to the grocery store. Don't walk by the roses. Buy them for yourself. Be obnoxious about it. I don't have one wind chime on my patio. I have like 12, okay? It's not enough to have one wind chime. You have to have that's the abundance in my life. You can live abundantly and not be on a canal in Florida. It's a state of mind. So why are we in conflict? And I believe we're in conflict for a positive reason, because remember, everything's happening for us. You are in conflict and you are not in inner peace because it's a signal from yourself, from your divine love light, that it's time to grow. It's time to break free from the bondages and ideas of your tribe, of your past, and to become more peaceful and more balanced and more in harmony and achieve more. We're not supposed to stay the same. We're not supposed to manifest the same thing over and over again. You're not supposed to become a lawyer because your dad became a lawyer and his dad became a lawyer. You're supposed to become a lawyer because you want to become a lawyer. That's the way this works. And if you want to be a doctor, then go be a doctor, because your heart is attuned to these ideas of abundance and joy and truth to who you are. So we'll be right back with a very special guest on the Rabbi Jenny Show, and we're cultivating inner peace. I'm so glad you're here. See you soon. Spent hours in therapy, at the spa, and the gym, and still feel as if something is missing? At Walk Between the Worlds with shamanic practitioner Jennifer Sellers, you recapture lost pieces of yourself, place them within your heart, and move forward to fully actualize life. With individual sessions and group classes, With Walk Between the Worlds, you heal your mind, unite your soul, and empower your spirit. Contact walkbetweentheworlds.com today. Mention this ad on The Rabbi Jenny Show and receive 10% off your first session. Walk free and whole and true at walkbetweentheworlds.com.
This program is brought to you by the law firm of Altman, Flynn, and Kugler. We practice elder law and intellectual property, including patents, trademarks, and copyrights. If you would like to patent your idea, please contact our Fort Lauderdale office for a free consultation. Call 954-563-4814. That's 954-563-4814. Or visit us online at altmanpatent.com. That's OLTMANPATENT.com. Spokesperson, not an attorney.
Do you know someone who is currently struggling with an addiction? The struggle is over. Dream Recovery International has the answer. With a combination of highly skilled clinicians, innovative treatment modalities, and luxurious amenities, Dream Recovery International has it all. Focusing on core issues, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment, clients of Dream Recovery International leave addiction behind and move forward to fully embrace life. For more information, go to dreamrecoveryintl.com or call 855-DREAM-80. Dream Recovery International, where addiction ends and recovery begins.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Rabbi Jenny. It is Wednesday, and we're talking about cultivating inner peace. And I'm, a little peaceful today talking about inner peace. It's so wonderful. So blessed. I wanted to read, before I introduce our guests, a prayer written by Reb Nachman of Breslov, one of the great Rebbes in the Jewish faith, a mystic and a very famous teacher. And he wrote this prayer: "Teach me, O God, to seek only peace. Save me from every form of argument, controversy, and quarrel. Liberate me from every type of misunderstanding and strife. Where there is no peace, there can be no joy, there can be no love, there can be no true presence of mind. Dear God, let peace be mine to share." And I love that because he intuitively connects these ideas. Peace doesn't come. It's like we think peace is the result of these things, but peace is actually the combination of being balanced in all those areas of our life. My guest today to discuss cultivating inner peace is like the perfect guest, of course, for this subject, and it is Reverend Lee from the Metaphysical Chapel. We're so glad you're here, Reverend Lee.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Jenny. Great to be on your show. Thank you for hosting me, and shalom, listeners.
Yes. So let's talk about cultivating inner peace for you. Where did you hit? Where did the talk get you going in your thought processes on inner peace?
When you called it to ask me about inner and outer peace, I went through a process of looking back at the last month to find where were there moments of turbulence, or where were there moments of where the water was not evenly balanced. And what I found was recently I went on a vacation with family, came back with a little bit of emotional, turbulent waters from that experience, and I thought, it's time for me to find peace in my life after those moments like those when we're with family, where things can be a little bit turbulent. And what I found was I was not at peace with some things in myself, and as I projected those onto family, it fueled the flames, if you will, of the little seedlings that had been growing in the garden, little weeds that had been growing that we hadn't dealt with, that we hadn't plucked out.
Right.
And so what I'm finding now this week, as I went through a process of meditation, as I went through a process of reading and studying some of my scriptural literature, I found that if I wasn't happy in life, if I'm not at a place of peace or calmness, then I'm in a heightened state of anxiety. So what I needed to do was to go within to find that inner peace. It wasn't outside of me, it's on the inside. So I think you had asked me to think about the concept of inner versus outer peace, and I thought, You know, what's interesting is that we talk about outer peace in the world. We talk about inner peace. And I think for most people, most listeners probably, outer peace is more of a facade around us, or we could look at it from another perspective, which is and outer world peace.
Right.
And so maybe we'll get into that in just a little bit. But what I want to focus on is inner peace, because by stepping into our inner peace, we shed this vibration.
Yes.
We really shed that illusion, the Maya, as the Hindus call it. We shed that illusion, and we begin the process of bringing forward this vibration into other people's lives. We affect change just by being in a state of happiness or calm or peace within ourselves.
I love what you shared about pulling the weeds, because that's usually the weeds in our garden, our heart, are low self-esteem, you know, and we go back to the priestly blessing, which I've heard you say before, and it says, let me show you who you are, so you can find peace.
You've got to get dirty.
You've got to know who you are, and anything in the way of the truth of who you are. And so, like you said, you still had false ideas of self based on family.
Yes.
And those are our source. You can't negate their presence, because they're the opportunity to love yourself more.
Absolutely. If you're not willing to get dirty by going into the garden and digging with your hands into the dirt to reveal where does the beginning of that plant, that weed, start? And it really starts on the inside. It starts in the mind. And so when we talk about achieving a state of calmness or a state of inner peace, where are our thoughts that are generating the state of heightened nervousness, anxiety, angst, fear, worry, envy, issues of sadness and despair in our lives? And we have to go deep down within to our thought processes and what is really initiating those thoughts that create those seeds of weeds, if you will, to keep going on with this analogy. But,
it's a good one. People love images. It's important. It's important to give them.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to, you talked about when you hit this place where you weren't at peace.
Right.
You essentially went home. A lot of times, listeners, we go home to family thinking we're going to find peace. That is usually the last place we find peace.
Yes.
Because, they installed the buttons and are able to push them, as we like to refer.
That's true. Amen.
But, it's like you talked about some steps that you took after that to cultivate your inner peace. What were those? Can you go into those? The meditation and the... Sure.
When I talked about a moment ago about doing some introspection after this journey upon the waters, when I came back, and I'd say the last 2 weeks especially, I went through a process of just analyzing my thoughts. What was it that caused me to get inflamed? What caused family members to get inflamed, to bring up this state of anxiety and nervousness that caused my peace and happiness to disappear temporarily? And then what I did was I took that into meditation by going inwards, and I'll tell you, one of the most beautiful, I call it a mindfulness exercise. One of the most beautiful exercises that I like to teach is taking us from a state of negativity to neutrality to positivity. We have the user or the client begin the process of finding the thought that makes them anxious, and then we take that thought and then we allow that thought to be either swept away in our mind or we fade that away in our mind, and we just sit with the void, the peace that comes behind it for 1 minute. And then now we've entered a state of neutrality. And so as we sit in that neutrality for 3 to 5 minutes, enjoying the peace, enjoying the calm, now we're going to begin the process of pulling forward a happy memory, an incident in our life that brings us maybe giddiness, happiness, something fun, and we analyze the different aspects around that happy encounter, and we look at all the details and who was involved, and maybe what did the air smell like, what did we have for lunch that day, what made me so happy in that moment. And now we just sit in that vibration for a couple of more minutes, and by this point we have literally stepped out of that angst, that worry, that nervousness, and we have we have basically broken through the soil back into the light of our own happiness. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah, we talked last week about being a mental, physical, spiritual, and soulful being. And that I love that exercise of the mind. The thought replacement and unweeding the garden. And sometimes we have to unweed the energy attached. It's like sometimes we're like, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. Why aren't I loving myself more? I love myself, I love myself. And it's like you have to take action to love yourself. And accompanying Kevin's exercise on thought and neutrality and meditation, it would be a good go for a walk.
Right.
Take yourself into a space that reminds you. Take yourself, put on some music and dance. Dance is such a great way to cultivate some of these things.
Right.
I found myself. I don't know if you dance around your house, but
sometimes.
Sometimes I listen to this crazy Indian music and banja music.
Banja?
Yeah,
Bollywood?
Yes, I love Bollywood.
Okay,
and
cool.
my poor son is. He's like, Mom, can you just turn that down when you drop me off at school? But it gets me to that state of joy. And one thing about that particular culture is it's colorful and absolutely joyful, even in a state of lack on so many levels. So what is another area in your life where you feel like maybe you're in conflict, do you think?
Conflict. I would say it probably has to do with serving. As many of the listeners may not know, I actually, by profession, I'm a nurse anesthetist. So I do have my own company. I work a good 40 hours a week in hospitals and surgical centers between Miami Lakes and Palm Beach. And then in the evenings and weekends, and I'm running my church, the Metaphysical Chapel of South Florida, down in Fort Lauderdale. And there has to be a balance. And a lot of times when you're when you have found your purpose in life, like I have within my own ministry, and as I step forward into my ministry, I tend to it's the nurse in me. I pour myself into it, and then there's not much left for myself. So if I don't take the time for my meditation, my walks in nature, my dancing to Bangla music, then I'm not going to have much energy or much peace in my life because I have literally poured my energy out into the other, to my purpose.
Yeah, and I want to point, that's so perfect because we were talking in the beginning about abundance and lack. And so maybe the listeners didn't understand how we could possibly believe in abundance and create lack in our life. And if you know Pastor Lee and you have a chance to go see him, we'll tell you where you can find him on Sundays. But he is someone who believes in the abundance of the divine. And yet through so much service, we create a sense of lack. Like we create that anorectic life.
It's easy.
And so it's really easy. And that piece has to constantly, we're constantly tending to our garden.
Right. There's an interesting, there's an interesting analogy that I used probably a couple of months ago in church, and it had to do with investing in ourselves and this whole concept of the banking system, or where if we write checks and we're not making deposits into our bank account, we're not going to have any money at some point. So if we're not making that investment of peace in our life through the dancing, through going for walks in nature, through being in sunshine, or inhaling this beautiful fresh air of South Florida, if we don't have a job that makes us happy, that we're agreeable with, or if we don't even have a life purpose and plan, or if we haven't even begun the process of seeking our life purpose, we're going to experience a lack of peace in our life. And so, this whole idea of banking is very interesting because I like to say, if you don't invest the peace into your life, you're going to go emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally bankrupt. And so that's what we have to think about when we invest in ourselves. And that's one thing that I've had to do, especially this year. My church has grown quite a bit, and what I find, my passion is so strong for serving that I do tend to put myself on the back burner for my congregation, for my visitors and my guests. And if I don't make the time for myself, my bank account in life begins to drop. My peace begins to drop. My happiness begins to drop. So I begin the process of investing in myself by meditation on a daily basis. I get up a little early. I go to bed a little early. Well, really, I meditate before I go to bed. And then, do some off-the-wall things. Maybe on a Sunday evening when things aren't so hectic in my life, I might go out and see a movie. I know that sounds kind of boring, but for me, that's kind of wild because I'm so busy with all the different things that I do. But it's really about investing in yourself, something that makes you happy. Do something spontaneous. I love spontaneous because you never know what's going to happen. You may get stuck in a traffic jam, but then you get to have a wonderful conversation with somebody maybe you wouldn't have thought of having earlier because you just wanted to get to the destination. Or you might actually get there early and get to meet somebody that you were divinely meant to meet. The other day I was at the nursery looking for a plant. One had passed to the great beyond. And so I went to the nursery down in Hollywood to look for some interesting new plants for my home. Mm-hmm. And I stopped to tell a family how beautiful I thought they were taking pictures in front of flowers. Wouldn't you know that the young girl that was right there taking the picture was a nurse and wanted to be a nurse anesthetist. And I only found that out because I told the family, "Are you Filipino? I've been to the Philippines. I've done medical missions there. I love your country, love your culture, love your food, love everything about the Philippines." And then we began the process of discussion, and I found my joy and my happiness in that very strange place, a nursery.
And you can't have that kind of spontaneity if you don't cultivate peace.
If you don't.
If you're in chaos, you are not going to do that. So we'll be right back talking about cultivating inner peace with Pastor Kevin Lee. Jenny asking you, are you ready? Life can bring many challenges, and sometimes we need help finding the answers to increase our awareness and take it to the next level. So are you ready? Come join me every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. on WWNN 1470 AM, where you can hear and see me bring spirit, light, and love into your life. Are you ready? It's time to change your life, take it to the next level, and embrace the greatness that is you. Are you ready? The time is now. Wednesday, 5 to 6 p.m. on WWNN 1470. So let's get ready. Do you know someone who is currently struggling with an addiction? The struggle is over. Dream Recovery International has the answer. With a combination of highly skilled clinicians, innovative treatment modalities, and luxurious amenities, Dream Recovery International has it all. Focusing on core issues, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment, clients of Dream Recovery International leave addiction behind and move forward to fully embrace life. For more information, go to dreamrecoveryintl.com or call 855-DREAM-80. Dream Recovery International, where addiction ends and recovery begins. Spent hours in therapy, at the spa, and the gym, and still feel as if something is missing? At Walk Between the Worlds with shamanic practitioner Jennifer Sellers, you recapture lost pieces of yourself, place them within your heart, and move forward to fully actualize life. With individual sessions and group classes, with Walk Between the Worlds, you heal your mind, unite your soul, and empower your spirit. Contact walkbetweentheworlds.com today. Mention this ad on the Rabbi Jenny Show and receive 10% off your first session. Walk free and whole and true at walkbetweentheworlds.com.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey everyone, it's Rabbi Jenny. Welcome back. I'm here with Reverend Lee from the Metaphysical Chapel, and we're talking about cultivating peace. And I wanted to remind you that, sometimes we forget that life isn't a destination and it's a journey. And if I'm not there yet, why am I not there yet? Why am I not at peace? Why don't I have everything I want? Well, it really is a process. Like, you're really better than you were yesterday, no matter how it looks to you, because even if what is happening in your life is giving you a sense of pain that is motivating you, you're still better than you were before you felt the pain, because you're in pain, And one of the things I wanted to talk to Reverend Lee about, because he and I are so involved in kind of an interfaith relationship, and we've done a few events, and I've spoken at his very beautiful church, which if it was closer, I would go on Sundays, because I adhere to so many I know it's far, metaphysical tenets. I really do believe a lot of that. But is this idea of world peace, and how do we cultivate world peace. It's such a world peace,
Right?
It's such
I love that bumper sticker.
Yeah,
world peace.
Right, because it's such but how do we do that? What are the different things? Because world peace is like that. It's like that war, or that no world peace is like this idea that we're different from each other. So how do we cultivate that idea of unity, and that we're, the brotherhood thing? What kind of ideas you got over there, Kevin? You got any ideas about how to cultivate unity or brotherhood?
Well, I think we mentioned a little bit earlier, it really, peace begins with ourselves. And peace does not happen by nature. It simply is something that is initiated by the action of the human individual. And so if we can't get our mind to a place of peace and calm and happiness with ourselves, we can never share that with our neighbors, which is part of the tenets of all world religions. Do unto others as you would have them do
Absolutely.
unto you. So if we can't reach a state of peace, we can't move forward into our communities, which means we can't move forward out into the world to begin sharing that message of peace. I'll tell you, it's interesting. A few months ago, back in February, I feel very blessed that I was able to go to India for 2 weeks. I flew to Calcutta. I had a very amazing experience. I stopped in to visit the Mother Teresa Center in Calcutta. And there was a young nun, I think a sister, that was there, and they were handing out pamphlets. And one of the interesting things that it said in the pamphlet was that Mother Teresa was invited, I don't remember, many years ago, to one of these anti-war rallies,
right.
A march for anti-war. And she refused to go. And they said, "What, so you support the war?" And she said, "No, I will march when there is a march for peace." And I thought, how beautiful is that?
It's so true.
Because there is a vibration when you step forward and take action, and you stand up for the anti-message. You're really standing up for a negative aspect of something when you really should be standing up for the positive aspects of something. So I thought, what a forward-thinking woman in general to make that statement publicly, internationally. So that was a very profound moment for me. But truly, it does begin with ourselves,
right.
And we have to be the lesson. We have to be the example for others if we're going to begin carrying this message forward. With all this difficulty in the world, it's a big challenge.
So every once in a while I have one of those breakthroughs, and the word peace is that the light in the water, and in between is
Beautiful.
the word.
Yes.
The lamed, which is the word for learning and education. And education is definitely a road to cultivate peace. So many things, we're so focused on how we're different. If we really educated each other, if we really got to know each other, we'd find out not only how similar we are, but how much we can actually give to each other. When
Absolutely.
we think about a garden, we don't want all roses in the garden. You want other things. Butterflies don't visit ones with just one. They want lots of different tall plants, and I was thinking about for myself how much participating in events, if you look at these battles that we have inside of ourselves of abundance and lack, it's not about we have to maybe educate ourselves on what is abundance. Is it material? Because like you said, it isn't outer, it's inner. It's a state of inner abundance. It's a state of inner joy. It's a state of inner love, and when you have the call, and you and I have talked about this, you do go through this very strange period of time afterwards where you kind of give up every single thing in your life for the call.
Yes.
And you have to cultivate abundance inside.
Yes.
Is there some memory that you have of when you did that? Because I remember when you were kind of going through that.
When I initially stepped into my ministry?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what a huge question.
It's huge, I know. But I'm
well,
I gotta make you think.
I don't know how to answer that question.
Well, I know. I mean, what about the element in your church? What about the charity that you started? Choosing a charity.
Oh! Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
right.
see.
So within the church, we decided to begin not just helping ourselves, but reaching out into our community.
Yes.
Because just like I said, the golden rule a moment ago: do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. It's an all world religion. It's a basic tenet of all world religions, and so every great prophet has prophesied and taught the same principle of serving other people. So we wanted to open our doors, open our hearts to share our time, our talents, our treasures with those around us in our community, because if we can build a strong community, we can build strong examples that can shift outwards into the neighboring communities, counties, states, areas. And so that's why we began the process for looking for local, county-wide, community-based programs to serve needs, people in need. So we branched out into 4 aspects, very easy: pets, family, children, because everyone loves children, and families. And so those are our 4.
And one of the things I really loved about this fundraising, it was stuff. Like it wasn't, and so it like, if you don't have stuff, but you create this charitable giving of stuff, like it was like bring toothbrushes, I don't know, you sent like
backpacks,
shampoo,
linen bags.
Yeah.
We had people make stuffed animals and teddy bears. Those actually went out. That was actually one of my international charity programs, where we stuffed little teddy bears that we hand sewed and painted little faces on. Those went to a village in Mexico. And what was interesting about that little project, it wasn't huge, but we sent these teddy bears down there because a young woman I knew from Texas would travel twice a year to bring donated goods to a little tiny village in Mexico, where there were these children that worked in a cemetery, and they sold flowers at the entrance to the cemetery. So I thought, I can't imagine, do they have joy in their job? I know they're trying to earn an income for their family, but is there joy in their life? And I thought, if I can bring a little joy to these children in the middle of nowhere, Mexico, then I'm going to do that. So we created a little side project that was our international project
and
for the year.
And for those of us listening, including me, myself, and I have to say, it's so interesting, our human nature.
Yep.
And even when we are doing amazing things on the planet, like cross-continental giving, we still have the ability to say a little thing.
Right? That's true,
we
right?
still have the ability to say, well, it wasn't big enough for me because I need to do things bigger.
Right. Well, who was it that said, try not to do a lot of great things, do one thing great? Who was that? Was that Mother Teresa?
No, she said lots of little things or
Something
small
like that.
acts of kindness.
Yes, something like that.
Small acts of kindness.
And that's what's most important.
Yeah.
You're right.
But
You're right.
I'm listening to it thinking, you did what? Like you sewed teddy bears?
Right.
Like most people can't even get out of their own way.
Nowadays, you spend $500 or $800, you can hop on a plane, you can be halfway around the world in 12 hours, and you can serve an island or a community that's been decimated by a natural disaster. How incredible is that we're such a transitory, a very transportation easy, small world. We're really becoming a one world species.
I want to, something that's also occurring to me as you're speaking, because I am so blessed with my guests because they inspire me so much as we speak. And for the listeners, it is about cultivating, and simply hugging your family would be cultivating. Just try to do something out of the ordinary that you wouldn't do. Like, say something that you wouldn't naturally say to someone all the time. Like you would wait for a special moment to say it. Why? Why are you waiting for the perfect moment to tell someone what you want to tell them? Just tell them, what are we waiting for?
That's true.
What are we waiting for? If we wait, the plants will die in our garden. If we wait, if you don't give a plant enough water and enough light, it will go. I don't care.
That's true.
And if it's an orchid, you gotta use your intuition to figure out what to do with that.
Yes.
I have a whole battle with all the orchids in my house. But it's like, it just amazes me when I sit in front of people, and I sit in front of them all day long who are just helping people, and we're constantly thinking small about ourselves.
That's true.
And I have
do you know why? Because we're thinking human.
Right.
And as we both know, we're spiritual beings having a physical human experience.
Absolutely.
A very temporary experience if you think about it, because we're eternal souls. So this is just an 80-year temporary blip on the screen of eternity. And so that's the problem. We're so stuck in this physical dimensional expression, and we forget how great we are. And I love those, when we go to those planetariums in New York City and Chicago and San Francisco, and you see that movie where it takes you from Central Park, above New York City, above New York State, out beyond the region, out into the atmosphere, out into space, out past the Milky Way, and you see all of a sudden the nation of Canada, the nation of Africa, the nation of the Philippines, they all become one. We become one world species. And so then our differences really do disappear. That's what Buzz Aldrin and the astronaut spoke about, how our differences disappear the minute they hit space.
My son and I, we watched the Hubble movie a lot. It's unbelievable. Though you go to the birthplaces of the universe, and it brings me back to the priestly blessing, which you and I say all the time at weddings and events, and the priestly blessing is, I want to remind you how you are. You are divine. Don't forget.
Yes.
Don't play small, and if you don't play small, you'll have peace.
Absolutely.
And it was only when, Abraham broke free was he able to do great things. It was only when Moses separated himself from the bondage of his family. And it is a process. It's a process of freedom. It's a process of cultivating. We say to ourselves, why do we spend such a long time?
Yeah.
But anybody who's ever grown anything, the moment it pokes out of the soil is just the most magnificent moment.
It is.
And it's worth the wait.
It is.
So if you're cultivating love in your life and you're finally able to feel it, it's worth the soil. It's worth the digging, Kevin.
Yes,
realizing how magnificent you are. Well, I guess mercy me, Marvin Gaye. I love ya. We'll be right back with Kevin Lee, Cultivating Peace on the Rabbi Jenny Show. Thank you for joining us.
All things ain't what they used to be now. Where did all the blue skies go?
Do you know someone who is currently struggling with an addiction? The struggle is over. Dream Recovery International has the answer. With a combination of highly skilled clinicians, innovative treatment modalities, and luxurious amenities, Dream Recovery International has it all. Focusing on core issues, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment, clients of Dream Recovery International leave addiction behind and move forward to fully embrace life. For more information, go to dreamrecoveryintl.com or call 855-DREAM-80. Dream Recovery International, where addiction ends and recovery begins.
Times are tough, and right now those in the commercial world know that being heard via advertisements is the name of the game. AmpSquare.tv understands how important advertisement is and is proud to express that it's truly the only plugged-in internet television production company on the market. Amp2.tv live streams all their shows across all the major selling markets in the U.S. and abroad. Call them at 866-224-5422. The AmpSquare.tv library allows productions to be seen over and over again, making commercial platforms more usable. Call 866-224-5422. Toll free 866-224-5422. Amp2.tv, the first and only internet television network that's truly plugged in. 866-224-5422. That's AMP2.TV.
Spent hours in therapy, at the spa, and the gym, and still feel as if something is missing? At Walk Between the Worlds with shamanic practitioner Jennifer Sellers, you recapture lost pieces of yourself, place them within your heart, and move forward to fully actualize life. With individual sessions and group classes, with Walk Between the Worlds, you heal your mind, unite your soul, and empower your spirit. Contact walkbetweentheworlds.com today. Mention this ad on The Rabbi Jenny Show and receive 10% off your first session. Walk free and whole and true at walkbetweentheworlds.com.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, welcome back. It's Rabbi Jenny. I'm so glad you could be here. We are so glad to cultivate inner peace with Reverend Lee. Kevin, thank you so much for coming. Please tell the listeners how they can find you and any announcements that you have.
Sure. So the chapel where I serve is the Metaphysical Chapel of South Florida. You can always go to our website. We have the most current information there, and that would be www.metaphysicalchapel.com. And we bring in a lot of national and international speakers, mediums, ministers, healers, different type of individuals to our chapel. And across the country, we've got about 15 churches from Michigan down to Florida. And you can also find that information on our website as well. So everybody is welcome of all faith. We are divine metaphysicians, but we're very affirming and welcoming to all.
And it's just a beautiful space with such high energy. So, Kevin, hang out. We're getting ready. We're going to do our Joy Jar Challenge. I think it's time for the Joy Jar Challenge.
Joy, 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 joy. It's Adeline Gobergstein, and it's time for the Rabbi Jenny Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge.
Oh, yes, it's Rabbi Jenny. Who do I have on the air?
Jane Manette,
Hi, Jane Minette. Where are you calling from, Jane?
Fort Lauderdale.
And do you know about the Joy Jar Challenge?
I'm waiting for you to tell me.
Oh my gosh, the Joy Jar Challenge is you have 25 seconds to say 10 things that make you ridiculously joyful. And when you do that, you can promote and talk to whoever you want on the Rabbi Jenny Show.
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, on your mark, get set, go.
I'm thankful for being a woman. I'm thankful for being alive. I'm thankful for being spiritually conscious. I'm thankful for the love of friends and family. I'm thankful for health. I'm thankful for my energy. I'm thankful for my talents, for my gifts from the Heavenly Father, and I'm thankful to be alive.
Oh, give me one more. It's a bonus.
And I'm thankful for the many opportunities I have and my creativity.
Oh, those were so beautiful. If I had a winner, it would be you. And you. So tell us what you want to promote today, Jane. Tell us who you are. What do you do?
I am promoting a seed-based nutritional product called Soul, manufactured by Rain International. Seeds are 20 to 40 times more powerful than any other part of the plant. We've been throwing away the seeds, but the seeds is where the Creator put the power and the potency. And when we give the body what it needs, the body is self-healing, self-regulating, self-protecting, self-detoxifying. All we had to do was to fuel it properly, and now through technology and advancement, they realize that seeds are the most potent nutritional substance there is, and I'm promoting it. It's called Soul. If you'd like to know more about it, you can call me, Jane Manette, at 954-260-4017. You can visit my website, which is soulofseeds.com. My number again is 954-260-4017. If you want the best nutrition, if you want mental clarity, energy, you want to say goodbye to all your aches and pains and problems caused by inflammation, if you've got migraine, headaches, depression, whatever, high blood pressure, cholesterol, if you just want to think clear and crystal, you want to get on the highest, most dense nutritional substance ever, and that is seed nutrition. And I'm talking about nothing other than soul.
Oh, my goodness, Jane. I love it. I love you. And I love that it fit in with our topic, which is cultivating inner peace. We talked about planting seeds in a garden. So this was so perfect, Jane. Thank you for calling in and calling again.
Thank you. I will indeed. Have a fabulous show. Thank you.
Have a joyful day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, listeners, the problem with me right now is like I'm just getting started. Like, I don't know. I should be doing like a couple hours of this because now I'm like, oh, I'm not peaceful anymore. Now I want to talk in accents. I want to talk to you. I want to cultivate some joy. Jane just infected me with her delicious energy. Because we're talking today about cultivating inner peace and the idea of congruency and conflict inside of us, and what areas of our life are we not incongruent? Are we not congruent, that we're at battle? And how do we negotiate with ourselves? How do we stop sabotaging ourselves with negative self-images and with negative self-talk, and stop telling ourselves we're less than? I wanted to share with you a couple of things that I got from a website about creating peace. And some cool suggestions are take a meditative walk, breathe 100 deep breaths a day. I'm not sure how you would count that if you're busy. Create a piece of art. You know, get yourself some finger paints. We did that at work the other day, and I don't know, there's something about finger paints. It brings you right back to like 2 or 3 years old. And how about have some fun with someone you love? Call somebody up that you really care about and let them know that you care about them. Volunteer your time. A lot of these things Reverend Lee and I talked about. Say something nice to yourself. Maybe not something obviously nice like I love myself, because that's not where you're at, but maybe I allow myself to feel joy today. I allow myself to listen to music today. I want to do the jam. I'm a little nervous about it because it's we're doing a new beat. We're doing a little beatbox. And then I'll talk to you, close it out about cultivating peace. So let's get that jam started.
Yo, 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 jam, jam, Rabbi Jenny jam, jam.
Yes, it's a beatbox, folks. You got war inside, you got difficulty, you got the need to hide what you don't want to see. So you make war outside, you got hostility, you creating a fight from what you don't want to be. You got war inside, you got nothing to show. Part of you wants to stay while the rest wants to go. So you make war outside, you got nothing around. Part of you says get lost, God wants to be found. Come inside, my love. Come inside. Come inside, my love. Come inside. You got war inside, you got pain in your heart. Part wants it to end, part would love it to start. So you make war outside, destroying all that you can. Build it up, then tear it down with one hand. You got war inside, you got nothing to show. Wanna raise it up high, then push it down low. So you make war outside, keep the loving away. Pull them all into line, and then you lead them astray. Come inside, my love. Come inside, inside your garden, plant some seeds. Come inside, my love. Come inside. And that, my friends, is the beatbox. And there's some guy in the corner of the studio doing that. I'm so kidding. But I loved it. I loved it. You have to come inside your heart. You have to come inside your heart and hang out and spend some time and cultivate peace for yourself. I want to read one more prayer by Reb Nachman of Breslov from his book, Gentle Weapon. I highly recommend it. He says, God, help me learn to cherish peace, to pursue peace, to promote peace. Save me from the need to be right all the time, which leads only to tension and strife. And remember that cultivating peace isn't peace itself, but it's finding a balance and a harmony with all the other qualities inside of you, listeners, that you are trying to cultivate. If you're not feeling the love that is all around you, cultivate the love, give the love, plant the love, be the love. If you're not feeling the abundance, one of the things that I consciously did a few years ago is I was in a very big state of lack, but I would always give all my money away past the point of uncomfortability. Like if I had any money in my wallet and there was like a guy on the highway, believe me, it was just an exercise in abundance. It wasn't anything fantastic, but you know what? I cultivated this idea of moving beyond my own comfortable ideas of lack and abundance. You are magnificent, you are beautiful, and you are full of love and joy. Go cultivate peace. I will see you next Wednesday. I adore you. It's Rabbi Jenny.
You have been listening and lighting up your life with Rabbi Jenny. Join us next week for another session of love, light, and joy as Rabbi Jenny takes life to the next level. Are you ready? Rabbi Jenny says the time is now.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.